What's going on, guys? Sorry for the confusion. I'm logged in as me, but Zoom still says Shane. I cannot figure that out for the life of me. Yeah, I can't figure that out. All right, give us a second. We're getting things together here today. We're all getting this stuff together. Anything new happen? I know Courtney's got some new stuff happening we're gonna talk about today, but anybody else get some deals? Anybody find anything in the marketplace that's interesting?
Find interesting.
Dude, it can be a lot of things. I actually found a moving company today that's got some interesting crypto stuff that they ran through their business. That's going to be interesting. But I mean, legit, like, have you guys
Does the
been,
crypto come with the business?
dude, I'm not sure. Marley's gonna help me break it down because I was like, how did they do this exactly?
They have it listed as an add back.
There she
They
goes.
ran crypto as an expense through their business.
That's funny. I had
Yes.
one also. Uh, Actually, my wife Maggie, she's on our call with us. We had one also. It was a cellular tower construction company that I was looking at,
Okay.
and it was on our background. Same thing. The company, they use their profits to buy cryptocurrency, houses. And
Yep.
I'm like, "Hey, how did you guys do that?" And I asked. I was bold. I asked them, "Does the houses and the crypto come with the business?" You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And of
Yeah,
course,
I
I'm like,
mean,
no, no, it doesn't.
Right.
technically, like they as owners, they can choose to do with the profit as they wish. But when you see things as creatively done as you do sometimes, you wonder what tax strategists they have
Yeah, no
employed.
kidding. Yeah. So yeah, as far as your original question, Shane, is anything interesting? Well, we're trying to keep our scope in line with what our strong points are, and that's like residential services businesses, like plumbers, electricians, and stuff like that. But every so often we'll entertain something like that, like a cellular construction tower company. And
Yeah.
but yeah, that one was interesting.
I
And
mean,
then
go ahead.
it's just amazing to me, and I'm pretty sure you guys have experienced too, is that when you go through like on market and the broker tells the owner and the seller that, you're worth this much, and it's, $3 million, and we like 4x'd it and blah blah blah. And then you come in, you look at the financials, and you're seen as the bad guy because they're like, it's nowhere near that amount, and you shouldn't have gotten that type of X evaluation. And it's like, well, just say you guys don't want to buy it. Like, I don't want to buy it at that price. You're right. I don't, you
Yeah.
know, and then we're seen as the bad guys. You're like, you guys are undervaluing us and this and that. And I beg them. I absolutely beg them. Please show me how is it that you got to that evaluation? How did you get to that price? Because that will be an education for me, and I greatly appreciate it if you walk me through it, because I just don't see it. I just don't see how it was valued at that point. So that's that's the fun adventures of this game.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, with sellers, like their businesses are their babies, so
Yep.
they value it far and beyond uh what the true market value is, time
Yeah.
and time again. There's even one of the businesses we might look at, if folks didn't bring any to look at today, they were negative cash flow last year,
Ooh.
doing okay this year, but still I think their asking price was like 450,000
Mm-hmm.
after a negative year, and maybe $100,000 cash flow for this year so far. It's just like, what
Yeah. Yeah.
world do you exist in? Because I want to join. I
Right.
want to be there with you.
Yeah. And
Well,
you,
So
it's funny that you bring that up, because that's something too that me and Maggie have been looking at too. It's like COVID was bad for everybody. And that
absolutely.
was no less than 3 years ago, right?
Hmm.
So when you ask them for the financials, and they give you basically the norm is 3 years. But
Yep.
I've been into the habit of asking them for like maybe 5 years, just so I can take the COVID window kind of out of the equation. And then we can take a look at, well, what's their profits and losses? What's also been their balance sheet for like 2004, 2024.
Yeah.
And we kind of look at it from more of a holistic view of the 5 years and really taking COVID into consideration, depending on, of course, the industry, right?
Absolutely.
And then really taking a look at it and giving it a better evaluation across 5 years versus 3 years, like you normally would. I don't know if that's something you guys are doing too, but that's something that we're kind of learning so far.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I take whatever I can get. If I can get 10 plus years, like I will take it
Right?
to understand trends. But generally, at least for a starting point to try to get to an LOI, I just get the 3 years. If they feel like one of those years shouldn't be counted against them, like for COVID, as for instance, then I would ask for additional years to their benefit, right? Not
Sure.
to mine. But it is helpful data points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it was construction and then you don't want to count those years against. Like, no,
Yeah.
that doesn't count. That doesn't
That's
count.
not real. That's not real.
This isn't real.
The COVID years are not real.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late, folks. How's everybody doing?
Dude, that's a nice mohawk.
Thank you. I just actually, the reason why I was on mute because I was fixing it because it was a mess.
Now, if you do like a mohawk and then a beard hawk, that'll,
I thought about that, yeah. And then they can kind of like slice me down the center. It's kind of
if that's even a thing, a beard hawk.
I'm sure it is, but I'm not rocking that one. Not
I'm gonna
happening.
trademark that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hilarious.
So what I missed, I'm sorry for being a few minutes late. Are we, does anyone have a deal we can look at that they want us to look at? No? Okay. Well, then we have someone, Courtney, would you like to chat a little bit about your deal?
Sure. So just to give a rundown, if everyone isn't up to speed, so there was a deal that I brought last week to take a look at. It is a notary business that is kind of underpinned with some technology. Basically, kind of the idea of the businesses, they have clients that submit for needing in-person notary services. So there are some kind of competitors in the space that do virtual notary, like you can get online and notarize is one of them, and you can kind of upload your documents, but there are still some needs for in-person notaries. And so someone submits, and then they have a pool of notaries that they kind of disperse jobs to, and then they kind of assign the job to them. Someone goes out, completes it. They send an invoice. The requester pays them, and then they pay the notary a fee, and then they keep the profit. Last week, we started kind of reviewing the documents that were sent over. There was some eyebrow raising a little bit on kind of the financials and understanding kind of what's going on with the business. There was a original document written by the owner that kind of gave the owner's perspective. Then there was a valuation given by their CPA. And then there were some P&Ls and things, and we were trying to kind of piece together the puzzle a little bit. Some of the numbers didn't exactly match. So in the last week, I've gone back and forth with the broker. I've requested, I kind of highlighted all the discrepancies that we were able to piece together across those different documents. I requested some more export from their accounting software. And Marley, Shane, and Jalen were so kind to meet with me earlier today and talk a little bit more and answer some questions I had. I met with the owner, just got off speaking with him like 30 minutes ago. We met for an hour. It was very informative. I learned a lot more about the business and the software. Some of the questions we had were kind of about in the valuation, there was kind of a large amount that was dedicated to kind of the proprietary nature of the database where all of these kind of transactions are housed. He walked me through that. Basically, what it seems like is they he had a database custom built. He actually had a piece of software custom built. Kind of when I asked him about the app overlaying, he was like, no, it's just a database. And so I kind of, backed off the technical language there a little bit, but he had an app built. There's a database underneath it. It took about 3 years. He's a notary himself. He's also a realtor. And he kind of knew all the things that he needed this software to do. So worked with the external software development contractor. Took 3 years. All in all, they spent about $100,000 building this software. It is maintained, hosted, kind of everything with the external contractor. So that is like a little bit of a dependency. Like they don't actually kind of own it and host it internally. It is with this external contractor. It mostly because he does not have a technical background and couldn't kind of maintain this himself.
Does he have rights
So
to it though?
he does, yes.
Okay.
He
fine.
fully owns it. And pays for all the bills directly, but it's maintained with the contractor. All in all, it costs about $4,600 a year between hosting, maintenance fees with the contractor, storage, all of that kind of stuff, storage fees. So all of that was outlined and is tracking. The kind of Twilio is baked into the software, so they pay their own Twilio bill that doesn't go through the contractor either. But that's baked into the software. They send text messages to the notaries when they get a job. They kind of do like a text blast to the notaries and say, hey, if you want to claim this job, like click the link to claim the job. And that's kind of their main method of communication in terms of kind of alerting people. I did find out some other pieces, which are Marley's suspicion, the $50,000 for the owner's salary is absolutely right. I asked him about it. He said he always has to be on.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm not doing everything day to day. I have an employee between 9 and 5:30. He does everything, but like I can't be off. Like I couldn't go on vacation to Europe for a week or something without a manager. So
Mhm.
that Marley was spot on that. I have like a bunch of notes. There's a couple of things. Feels like there's opportunity for optimization around, how they do notary fees, the software, kind of just the way that the software works. And they spend a lot of time correcting errors from the clients. So the clients will do things like send a request, but not fill in the email address or the phone number for the person who is signing the documents. And so then they have to do this back and forth thing. They have like errors when notaries are sending things back, maybe something wasn't signed properly or things like that. So there's some things that software could kind of take care of. I did find out that they have another contractor, like person who manages kind of all the notaries. So this person
interesting.
is on contract with them 5 to 10 hours a week. Because I started asking about how do they train notaries? How do they recruit notaries? Like, they said they don't really do any recruitment, but they do get 5 to 10 applications a day for new notaries. And so they have a person that's completely dedicated to vetting, interviewing those notaries, and then kind of getting them onboarded. And that person is a separate person than the full-time employee. And they do 5 to 10 hours a week on contract.
Interesting. And that's included in that magical 10 grand a year to operate the business?
Yeah, that's not
No.
outlined.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back through the P&L. Maybe there's like a contractor line item there, but it's certainly not in that original document.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that at all.
So we talked a little bit about also kind of like if you were to hand off the business, what about the clients? And he said the clients don't really know who he is. Like they just know that, you know, they have access to kind of the database. They have a link, they can log in themselves, submit their requests. They just know that their requests happen. If they have an issue, there is a phone number that they can call, but like they don't really have personal relationships. He really started this business kind of in like 2001 is when he like really became a real business. And they did a big marketing push at that time to try to get title companies on board. But since then has done no marketing, has not done any outreach. They have about 400 title companies that utilize them on a regular basis. He said they do about 20 closings a day. We did talk about the decline in revenue, and that's kind of how we got to that conversation. He said that the business's revenue is almost inversely correlated to rates, to like to mortgage rates.
Yeah.
So when rates are down, their revenue is really high. When rates are high, their revenue is down. And he was like, so you can kind of see that. The broker actually was on the call with us, and the broker was like, yeah, well, you know, but you don't have to say with real estate. You could do M&A, you could do attorneys, you could do this. And so the broker was like, you know, I mean, you could go a lot of different directions with this to help, you know, offset that.
Absolutely.
And
But we don't pay them for the potential.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the owner was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, somebody else just needs to take this into the future. Shane, to your question, I asked kind of like, you know, why sell it? I mean, it's steady income. It seems like, I mean, even while we were on the call, because he was sharing a screen walking me through, I could see requests coming in the whole time that we were on the call. So I was like, you know, help me understand. He said, I just turned 60 and I'm just ready to retire. I'm ready to be done. I think it speaks more to the always on, which again, just kind of further underscores the need for a manager. He's like, I just am ready not to be doing this like every day, all the time. So yeah. I did find out they do have QuickBooks, but it seems like the QuickBooks, all they use it for is tracking transactions in and out. And in and out meaning for the orders. So they
Got it.
only track invoices and then bills to the notaries. That's all they do
Okay.
in QuickBooks. So that
Alright.
export that I said looked like an Excel sheet, that was from QuickBooks.
Okay. Okay.
And
Very
there's
interesting.
currently no integration between the database and QuickBooks. So they are entering these by hand at the end of every day.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's
Yeah.
great for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Great
great
for
for me. I was like, oh my God.
Easy and
Um,
fast. Low hanging fruit.
Yeah. So I think that's basically he was a very nice guy. Very nice. He said that he was more than happy to talk to me any other time if I needed anything. He felt very confident that, you know, if we started adding, you know, whoever the owner is to the signature of emails that go out and just saying this person is now running the business, like clients would have no issue with that. He also felt very, you know, confident that someone who had a little bit of, you know, tech or product vision could actually kind of take this forward and help it grow. But seemed like very kind of just like tired.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
So,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think, and I know that the price was for our evaluation was a little bit higher in multiple wise, right? And
Yeah.
that probably was not part of the conversation because this is more rapport building day one. So that was really cool. So everyone who's here, like this is a really good example of like, especially these smaller businesses, like this is someone's baby, right? People are looking at and Jalen's drinking it from a baby bottle. It looked like it was like the perfect time. Like, oh, there's milk in there too. So this is like that person's baby. Like they paid money to make the software. They've been doing this forever. They don't know how to scale. They just know what they're doing is working. So they're just like, cool. Right. And now they're trying to leave. And the valuation of the business, I think, what's the multiple on this right now? Ish.
up to look,
So, yeah, off the top of my head, I think the multiple on cash flow is somewhere around like 3.5
Mhm.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think
X.
it's close to 4.
close to
Yeah,
4.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the
And
IP was over 500, which was the biggest question mark. But the fact that he actually did put time and dollars into the software, it makes me less inclined to discount
Mhm.
that, at least not greatly, right?
Right.
So that puts him in a better spot, at least on the IP side. The cash flow side is still not uh um definitely not a 3.5 to 4x multiple,
Mhm.
especially when notaries are 1 to 3x, and the 3x means like your books are beautiful, processes are gorgeous, everything is working as it should.
Well, and
And
that's a
Yeah.
question.
I
Go ahead,
did
Bob.
ask about that. I said, do you all have documented SOPs? How are you training notaries? Do you have a full training process? How do you onboard? And he was like, no, we don't really have a training. If someone has worked at another company or like done multiple closings, we take them. If they're brand new, we don't, because we don't want to train them. We want somebody else to train them. So that's like also a thing. And it seems like a lot is being outsourced to this other contractor who's doing the vetting. They have like a rating system inside the software, but it seems like the rating is just based on how many you've completed. I asked, do the clients get to rate the notary or the service? And he said, no, like we basically rate you if you've done one. Basically, a rating goes up to 10. It's 0 to 10. Every time you do one, your rating goes up. So if you've done 3, your rating is 3. If you've done 20, your rating is 10.
Yeah.
And if you mess up on any, then they move your rating down 1. So let's say you've done 6 and you mess up on the 7th one, your rating stays at 6. It doesn't go to 7. So there's like some stuff right there that's like, also the way they do kind of notary fees. So someone comes in, a request comes in, all the requests are different prices also, depending on how long someone has been with them. So if someone's been there since 2001, their fee is probably going to be lower than someone who just got onboarded as a client. So, right. So that's a little wonky also, because I asked about that. I said, there's some differences in fees. Like, what's the difference? And he's like, well, it depends on when they became a client. So
Huh.
there's a little bit of risk there if we change the pricing.
Yeah.
Um,
And when you say client, are you talking about the title companies?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
The title companies.
Okay.
But then
So yeah.
when he kind of submits the request for all the notaries, it's kind of vibes. Like, I mean, there's like a input thing, and before he submits it, he enters the notary fee. And so he'll look at how much is coming in. And he'll say, oh, well, maybe this one will be 65. Maybe this one will be 85,
Got
and
it.
it's just kind of vibes.
Oh
So
my gosh.
So
there's no
that part is not
process.
automated.
No, that is like a person has to
Oh,
press
no
the
wonder why
button.
he's busy all day.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so,
Wow.
pings are just coming in the whole time. And, and he asked the employee not to do some during the hour that we were meeting so he could show me. But
Mhm.
then they kept coming, and halfway through the call, he said, hold on, I need to call him to tell him to start doing these again because you and I are now talking.
Yeah. Okay.
Really easy
Wow.
fix.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
And then the
another-
invoices are sent
Very.
by hand. That's not automated, right? Like, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple, and I don't want to take. I know we have another deal we want to look at 6, but in terms of the oh geez, I just lost it. Sorry. Oh, in terms of the for you, I think something that might be helpful for you to see is like, I assume he has a developer working on this, or like, how do you know who is doing the systems?
They have a company that they've contracted to basically do the maintenance.
Okay, so it would be interesting to know who wrote that, because that might require some rewrites depending on how it was done. And if someone's already familiar with the system, you might as well go with them. But at the same time, it might be worth it to outsource that somewhere else. But one of the things I would request from him, as you're getting, if you once you get under LOI, he's probably not going to do it beforehand, is to get access to the system as a like view only user, if that's possible, or get into the system as a notary, and be a notary, and to be the company as well. So those three spots you'd want to see, at least the 2 where you're a notary or where you're a title company. That'll be really important for you to see the handoff and the transaction and how it kind of looks, and allow him to put a few test runs through for yourself so you can see how that works. That'll give you a good insight of like, oh wow, this took 48 hours to get this back, versus, I mean, they're going to expedite it because they're doing everything manually, but at least you kind of can understand, oh, this was this, and this was done manually versus this was done automated. I think that'd be very helpful. And I mean, the growth on some of this stuff that I could see is like, I assume there's no app associated with this. It's probably just a website. Right. So imagine all the notaries that could just sit on their phone and do video notary, and or like go to site or whatever. Like, you've got a lot of options to grow that, because it's a lot easier to take a photo of a document and just send it in than it is to upload to a computer, to do this, to do that, and then all that fun stuff. So sounds like there's some good growth there. But again, you're not buying on potential, just things I'm throwing in my brain out into the world.
Also, what's unique about this deal is the one employee already knows that he's selling. So I would try to get time with that employee, with the seller, of course, to understand what their workload looks like, what processes they follow, if they're like, what exactly they're touching on a day to day. Because basically step 1, when you come in to stabilize the business, is all of those SOPs, documenting job duties and logs. So it's good to get your arms around it early on, before closing.
Yeah. And I wanted to point out a really great question that Marley asked in one of our meetings for a company that we're going after right now. We went into this meeting with the developers and things like that, and the whole team, and she was like, so what if we could give you a magic button, what would that be? Like, what would be the thing that would make your life so much easier right now, today? Right? If we can do that tomorrow, what would that be? And that would really guide you on what direction to go, especially to optimize what they're doing. Especially if they're happy there, right? That's great. Like, find out the vibe, find out all that fun stuff. But making it feel like, and making them know that they're priority, right? You're not just gonna come in here and wipe house. You're coming in here to optimize and make their life easier, and still give them the same pay, right? Like, that's the goal. So cool.
So
Does anyone have any questions for Courtney? We want to give you all an opportunity to ask. I know that you all don't know the back end of the business 100%. Marley looked at the numbers. I know it from last meeting and this meeting. But does anyone have any thoughts or any questions they would want to ask? Okay. Marley and Jalen, I think we have, we're gonna, if no one else has questions or no one has an opportunity for us to look at together to go live, we do have one that um, we've looked at, or Jalen has actually looked at and redacted, so we can go live on this. Is everyone ready to go ahead and do that with us? Give a thumbs up in the chat or something. Or, yeah. Cool. Sounds good. All right. Karen, you have a question or just a thumbs up? Took it down. Okay, cool. All right.
Pressing buttons.
Yeah.
Having to
I
the
know,
thumbs
that's-
up and I'm all over
that's-
the place.
Of course,
A
that's
mess
what you do
today.
best. That's what you do best. We know.
Sorry, I was late.
You're good. You're good.
Good.
You know,
Cool. Marley, you should have access right now, or Jalen, whoever's gonna bring it up.
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's in the drive.
And
Courtney, thank you
this-
again.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
I
thank
can't
you
wait.
all.
I only looked at this for about 5 minutes before we started, so you're gonna have to bear with me. This deal does not have a sim, so I'm just gonna give you a little bit of background. So we're gonna be looking at a moving company that's on the smaller end. They're looking for $450,000 as a purchase price, or their asking price. They have posted that their gross revenue is about 472,000, with their adjusted cash flow being at 271,000. So that's about a 1.7, little under 1.7 multiple on the cash flow. And then they have 3 full-time employees and 8 part-time. Okay, we're gonna jump into, pull up some of the P&Ls.
Then Shane and Marley, just off the top of your head, guys, how do you guys feel about moving companies?
I think moving companies are great.
Yeah.
Even better during times where people are buying a lot of houses, buying a lot of real estate, of course. But that's one of those service companies that tend to do really well and tend to hold value really well, in my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah. I also have a cousin who works for the transportation, the government transportation. It's also the number one, what's it called? Not fraud, but like crime done on interstates is
Ooh.
travel moving companies. So when people say, I'll move you across the country, they'll go halfway and they'll say, yeah, you got to pay us another $12,000 or else we're not going to bring your stuff to where you're going. It's actually a number
Whoa.
one, like the biggest crime thing being done right now on the interstates.
Wild.
Yeah, pretty
That's
wild.
nuts.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Thought I'd share because it was fun. We just had a call with them yesterday, so I was like, oh, that's a good thing to have.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's see.
Is that reflected on their profits and loss?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably, that might be why they're losing money every year, that and their crypto. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna have to like download all of these things.
All right, that was a nerd joke. Sorry.
You're good.
Okay, let's see if we can start with 2020 P&Ls. Okay. Share. All right, so we'll start with 2020. They had 2019s, but they were a mess and I couldn't make heads or tails of it easily or quickly. All right. So we are looking at top line revenue of 334,000 for the
Marley,
year.
could you zoom in on where you're at? Just because it's hard to see, unless you're gonna lose all your data.
Well, since this is a PDF and not Excel, it's gonna be difficult to see the total.
Got it. Everyone, if you
And what
take your
we're
mouse,
discussing.
you should be able to scroll and zoom in on Zoom
Yeah.
itself.
Oh,
I hope.
yeah, I apologize. This is not properly. Not best suited. Can we see? See, okay. I can't see you guys, so.
Yeah, you're
It's
good.
good.
We'll all zoom in. Just want to make sure we have.
Okay, so for, we're just gonna do the quick hits across each year. So 2020, we're looking at 334,000 in top line revenue. After discounts, we're looking at a gross profit of 302,000. After discounts and cost of goods. Payrolls running at 138. Controllable expenses, so operating expenses are at 122. Interesting what they call rent non-controllables. Additional operating expenses are at 68,000. which brings us to a negative NOI of 26,000 a year. Let me see. So that to me is one of two things. It's a little concerning because of course you're not making any money in the business, at least on paper for the P&Ls. But we haven't looked at their taxes, which since they are running interesting things like crypto through the business, my thoughts are this is a tax strategy to make it look like the business is losing money, even if that's not truly the case. Okay. Let me find the next one. Sorry, I'll be better organized next time.
Good.
There we go. 2021. Okay, 2021 top line revenue, pretty similar to 2020, nothing considerably different. Payroll expenses are in line as well. Same thing with their operating expenses. And again, we are ending at a negative NOI for the year. If I can just hop back and forth. There we go. 2020. Get through these ones quick because the most recent is interesting. Ah. Okay. Make sure you guys can still see. So for 2023, for 2023, we dropped on the top line revenue. I'd say a considerable amount in relation. I think the last one was at about 350. We're looking at 282 here. And that could be, was it in 2023, the interest rate environment still was not great. Still not great, but it's improving. And then everything else is pretty similar. Where is, oh no, they changed how they did expenses in this year. So this year, the P&L actually looks more normal. It has all of the expenses in one segment. Total expenses, 276 for the year. So we're ending with a negative of 22,000. And then here's 20. So for 2024 thus far, our top line revenue has recovered. We are already looking at 308,000 for halfway through the year. That's great. And let's see here. We come down, so now we come down and we look at our total expenses and we're at 152,000 for the year. And our NOI is 143,000 and positive. So this tells me that what's likely happening is a tax strategy versus actual losses in the business. I could be wrong. Again, I haven't reviewed the tax statements yet, but I imagine they are running ancillary expenses from other business or different investments through this business, which accounts for the losses. The problem with doing that and then going to sell your business, you're not going to be able to command the top multiple for your business when you show losses over the last 4 years, and then miraculously in the current year, you're positive. So even though they have 142,000 in revenue thus far for 6 months, which looks, fabulous, I personally wouldn't give them credit for that being their actual true NOI or cash flow. When they've had negative years. I like to be able to go into the P&L and create an average of at least 3 years. So to me, that is odd. I wish, so the page that has the add backs on it is not redacted. I don't know how to do that. Jalen, can we maybe take like a screenshot of just the financial snapshot of
Gotcha.
of the homepage so we can talk about it. So right now on its surface to me, like, this is not a deal. This is not something that I would be interested in purchasing. The seller is going to have big feelings about the value of their business, even though the financials don't support it. The only reason why I would consider it is if they were willing to do a 100% creative deal. If we know that they'll do seller finance for a 5 to 10 year term at 0% interest, sure, I can make almost any price work if the business truly does cash flow. But I do want to talk about the adjustments that they made to get themselves to the adjusted cash flow of 271,000. So that's where some interesting things happen that don't show up on the P&Ls that we just reviewed. Just give us a second.
Okay, so that is in the chat. This should be the latest trailing 12.
Okay. I think they had the trailing 12 P&L in there. In the folder. Let me see. That might be helpful to pull up as well. Okay, so in the trailing 12 is not much different than the P&L for the last 6 months. So they are claiming that over the last 12 months, their NOI should have been 145,000 before any add backs or adjustments. Okay, let me share. Where did we go? Just... Right. So their T12 has them at 472,000 for gross revenue with a gross income of 443 and an operating or net operating income of 145,000. Then we come down to their adjustments because remember, they're allowed to add back any expenses that aren't required to run the business. So we have, again, an interesting line item for cryptocurrency. This is something that we would need to note down and have a conversation about to understand what and why crypto was ran through the business. Was it from profits of the business? Were there losses from that? Like, just get a better understanding of why that was ran through the business in the first place. And then we have, I don't know what household reprates means. Do you guys know what reprates is?
Probably meant household repairs, or
Oh,
I would assume that it was misspelled.
that is very likely what that is.
That is
So Yeah, that's a great, guess.
Here's the question, was it misspelled on purpose?
Yeah, yeah, well, that's
It could be-
it's a question to ask. What is it? And if it is household repairs, are they repairing their own home? Are they repairing households
Right.
that they moved it furniture into? Because
Mm.
that's not an add back in this situation.
Right.
That's more of a like cost of goods and services because you guys did damage. Which I would also assume would fall under their insurance. Are they running insurance? They should, for the business, an umbrella policy, exactly for this reason. So that would be a question that needs to be asked. For meals and entertainment, that's another one where I'm always kind of iffy about people putting into adjustments. Because if it's meals and entertainment that they're using to close clients or to perhaps get a larger contract with a apartment complex or something like that, then that is a required cost to continue getting the revenue amounts for the business, right? That's almost like a marketing cost or anything like that. So I wouldn't consider that something that can be added back to the cash flow. I keep hearing dinging. I don't know if there's, oh no, okay. Oh, I've had damage. I've had damage done in moves too. It's absolutely terrible. And both moving companies didn't fix it. It was just a mess.
Wow.
Okay, and then owner's compensation. Here, again, I think this is a tax strategy thing, but they're only paying themselves 10,000 a year through the business. That is not a reasonable salary, at least not by any test that I know of. I'm sure that they've been getting away with it, obviously, with the IRS. But I wouldn't allow it here as an add back. Like, we are likely, if we purchase this business, going to need to actually place an operator in the business because he or she provides a schedule of what they actually do on a day-to-day, and it's a full-time job. So not only are we not including this as an add back, we would actually have it as a deduction from the overall cash flow because we're gonna have to place an operator to do the tasks that this person was doing. And that's likely gonna be what, 70 grand plus? So that's another discount off the cash flow right there. Interest expense, again, I don't know what that is. If it's for credit cards through the business, then you can pick or choose your battles about whether you want to include that as an add back. If they're going to be paying off any loans, liens, credit cards at closing, then it's perfectly fine for an adjustment. And I do believe, actually, because we didn't look at the balance sheets together, but there was an SBA ELIN loan. So that's likely actually what that's attached to. So if you're assuming it, then that can't be an add back because you're going to keep paying that interest. But again, if he's going to pay it off, or she's going to pay it off at closing, then it can be included. Medical expenses, sure, we can include that as an add back. Repairs and maintenance, owner's benefit. Okay, so this makes me think even more so that this household repairs is from the course of the business, not for the owner's home, because we have another section later on that says it's for the owner's benefit. Fuel expense, personal expense, that's interesting. We would need to ask questions about this. I can't recall offhand if there was a fuel expense line item in the P&L. Can one of you guys just look really quick? Because in a moving business, especially, there's gonna be fuel expenses. So we just want to make sure that that truly is just utilized, or this amount was just utilized by the owner versus the business itself. Yeah, just they ran a lot of their own personal stuff through the business. Auto insurance, sure, you can add that back. Depreciation, that's fine. Cell phones, that's a questionable one. Because if you have to use your cell phones to run your business, then that again that's a business expense. That's not something to add back. Same goes for the internet service. Don't know what the professional services are. I guess we can be fine with that. Dental care, same thing. It's a low enough amount, and then charitable contributions. So I would say a vast majority of the adjustments here aren't true adjustments that would fly. And as I mentioned earlier, the compensation to actually replace this owner is going to be significantly more than the 10 grand that they're trying to add back. So again, probably not a deal that we would be interested in even entertaining, because it would be more battle than it's worth on the cash flow side, unless they did 100% seller finance on a crazy note.
That's fair. No,
Yeah.
I'll just throw this in here. The fuel expense says it's fuel for hired vehicles. So it does make me wonder, when was it? Yeah, they have truck
Mm,
maintenance cost as well.
okay,
So they,
then yeah,
uh,
he could have just been using a
His
company
own vehicle.
card, or
Yeah.
for his vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed pretty well put together. It's not like there was anything that we saw that was out of the question for an add back, right? Because add backs are literally just things that normally wouldn't be a cost to the business, right?
Yeah.
So looking at that list, I mean, some of it was rounded, right? Like it wasn't perfect, right? We know that.
Mhm.
So, you know, there's always like at least 10% or sometimes 50%. But if it looks pretty straightforward, obviously you would need to see bank statements, right? You would need to see the true what were the statements that accrued all of these things, right? Or maybe the credit card or however they spent the money. We need to see where that money went and came. Because like Marley said, personal owned businesses are a mess, right? They're like even my business right now, I'm just like, is this something that I'm going to be using? Like my Zoom is that on my personal card or is it on this? I didn't have my card when I opened up the Zoom for this business. So it's like, did it get to the right spot? So it gets messy pretty quick. But as long as they have documentation of all that, all those add backs could be true. But yeah, the $10,000 owner's compensation, or at least was there salaries in for the owner anywhere in there, or was that literally like
Yeah.
there's
He on paper payroll, he paid himself $10,000 a year.
crazy.
So that's, again, this is it's a tax strategy. It is not reality. It can't be counted in an add back.
And to kind of touch on that, right? Tax strategy, like as you're looking at this, folks, like yes, you can make zero money or $10,000 a year, but the bank is never going to give you a loan. So you have to think about what your goals are. Like the bank's not going to give you a loan later on if you have a business that's not cash flowing. Even if if you're taking an SDE, right, which is a seller discretionary earnings, if you're taking an income separate from that 10,000, on the books you only make 10,000. The bank doesn't care what your bonuses are. They care about your W-2. So keep that in mind. Your salary, if you're gonna get a house later, or you're gonna get another business, or you're going to apply for things, you need to show W-2 version of income, even if it's your own business. Yes, that changes the amount of money. Yes, that changes the amount of taxes, but it really depends on what your goals are. So a lot of people think they can go in and say, I make $1, right? Like Elon makes $1. He doesn't give a crap. He's not gonna ever need a loan again because he has all the finances, right? But all of his businesses, he makes $1 on each business. And then he has bonuses for everything else. There's certain ways you can take money that you don't have to pay taxes on it because it's a loan or it's a distribution or it's certain things. So the way he plays the game is going to be different than the way you all play the game. But that's going to be something to think about. Like Was there tax accountants in there in these numbers? I don't remember seeing anything like that, right?
Professional services could be.
$850 though
that.
is not really gonna
That's not,
get you far on tax accountants, right? So depending on how, if you're gonna open up 30 of these businesses or buy 30 of these businesses and bolt them on and add them together, or if you're gonna do just the one, right? It depends on your strategy and what you're trying to do. So keep that in mind when you get to that point. That's not something we're talking about here right this second, but it is something that we are going to start talking about. We can talk about as we move forward, because it's really it's really something to think about. But it's not for what we're talking about today, right? Like I just want to I like to throw these nuggets in there to talk about all of this and go from there. Now, out of curiosity, of the people who are here, who is currently looking for a business, who is actively searching versus who is um just kind of like waiting for something to show up. Okay, that's the question. Okay, we've got a few people here. All right, cool. So what I would love to see for all of you is to really, as you find stuff, send it to us. Jalen, if you wouldn't mind just dropping that link in here. It's going to be in every email we send you, folks. It's going to be at the bottom of that email to send in your deals for us to help look at them with you. We'll bring them on here live. We'll assess them together. If, like Courtney did, if you want to talk a little bit more after we've done our first assessment, if it's something that is a viable business, right? Courtney's is viable. It's got potential. To us, it's not viable at that number that they're asking for, but she's working on that, right? But she's, knowing Courtney and knowing as much as we do about her, she's going to optimize that business and grow that in a certain way. So that got just got dropped in here. Thank you, Jalen. But upload them. Upload things that you see. And we're looking at, Jalen, do we have a threshold on minimum SDE or minimum net profits? I don't remember if it's on there or not. Are we looking at it? I guess it depends on what kind of business, right?
It does, yeah. So we definitely have a cash flow test there that will tell you it should be at least at $240,000 a year cash flow.
Mm-hmm. And the reason for that, there's a couple of reasons, right? If you're going to be an owner, the main reason is debt, right? You're going to be taking on debt. So we're giving you a very safe number. Half of your take home, half of your cash flow is going to go towards debt, services, all the stuff that's going to be taken care of in the back, and growth, right? Big one is a growth one, right? So like it's really like 30% debt, 20% growth. Let's just give it that range. But you really want to plan for 50% because you're going to go in there and at first look, it might be 240. And then at second or third look, it's really going to be 195, right? And that's going to change a lot of things. And so you really need to understand that 50% is just a ballpark number that we're trying to give you to start with to see if it's viable for you to run a business, right? We all want you to be cash flowing 10K a month in this business that you buy. Whether you're owner operator or owner investor, it needs to be 10K a month. Preferably you're owner investor because then you're not in business. You're working on the business and you're have teams in that business that you're already there. Like I don't know if Connie is here today, but she's looking at a diner, a restaurant diner. And for her, I think the SDE was, it was like, I don't think it changed while we were
136.
Yeah, 136 sounds right, but it was like 136, but there was no, like, she doesn't want to run it herself, right? So now she has debt financing that she has to take care of, plus she has someone to fill her role as a manager. So at 136, she gave me some feedback the other day, and she said that the seller is what'd she say? The seller is paying the kitchen staff an extra $200 a month to run the kitchen, and then or the chef to run the kitchen, and then he's paying the waitress, the two waitresses, another $200 a month to run the books and to run the front end. So I don't know how well that works scale wise, because if one person leaves, you're done, right? But there's no manager at this diner at all. In reality, there's no manager. It's just staff members who are there. So that could work if it's not a crazy scale diner. But at the same time, if you want this to grow and you want to do more business and you want to optimize whatever you're going into, you always want to have growth potential. I look at diners, I look at restaurants personally. I've been in that industry quite a bit. It might be someone's cup of tea, but it's a lot of times, unless you are are really, really high end, it's kind of a hard thing. That's why diners work well. They're stable because they have so many different items that they provide that they kind of diversify their portfolio across all those items. So if something goes up in price, like during COVID, everything went up in price and inflation went up on, wheat and milk and eggs and different things. It went through the roof. But hey, the cost of oatmeal and this and this and this did not. So we're okay, right? Whatever it might be. So that's how they diversify. But it's a different conversation, a different type of restaurant than normal, just like single restaurants. They're hard to me, they're hard to work with. That's not to deter you all, but it's a business you have to be passionate about to run one of those. And then also there's a lot of those businesses that are not good first businesses, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I could be wrong. Like it could be something that you all know how to run too. I just like to give my input on a couple of those things. Out of curiosity, could everyone drop in the chat what type of business everyone is looking for? So I know that for myself, Marley, and Jalen, it's a cash flowing one is what we're looking for, right?
Well, we care
Um,
about.
that's all we care about, right? Like a stable cash flowing one. That's the key, right?
And not shady or part of an industry we can't sleep at night
Right.
being a part of.
Yeah. No cross country moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Pirates.
Well, I mean, we can still do that. I just
Yes.
just not that way.
Yes.
But yeah, everyone, if you can drop it in the chat real quick, I just want to know what everyone's looking for, or what they've been thinking about, right? Because there's service industry, which is booming. There's pool service, like that. To me, that's healthcare, right? There's so many options out there that just like if you're looking at real estate, there's so many options, you don't know what to look for, right? And to have a better understanding of what zone you want to be in, it's a really good idea. Because Marley, myself, and Jalen, we've got a very broad experience level. Like Marley's got tech companies, Jalen's got coaching and coaching as well as mentoring and gym and sales and electrical work. And I've got my background in home services, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, welding, architecture, automotive. We've all got a very broad grouping, but and that gives us an ability to look at things differently. For you, you might be just looking to get into something to cash flow, right? Which is really what we're looking at. It's like it does not matter for us. All right, so we've got a couple things. So healthcare business, specifically home health and hospice care. Awesome. Margie, my wife is a little bit different, but she's an end of life doula. So that's a really interesting kind of connection with hospice care. So that could be a conversation if you ever want to talk to someone about that to understand that world, and how it could be a add-on if you ever get a hospice service. Home services, Maggie as well. Courtney, you're looking at home services, online services, or bookkeeping, property management. Cool. So things you can automate, right? Things you can optimize, which is cool. Dave, car wash, self-storage, and laundromat. Awesome. Those are just cash businesses, right? They are cash. People need them. It just happens, right? Self-storage is amazing. You're dealing with real estate with that one as well. So there's that extra hurdle sometimes to keep in mind. Car wash, usually the same thing. You're still dealing with real estate a little bit, but you can rent that. Laundromat, you can rent that out. That's not a big deal. Rob is construction, electricians, plumbers, and painters. Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Home services, right? Different things that you can get into that, you can hire people to run them, and you can hire people to work on them or in them. And then, yeah, Margie, definitely. Let's shoot me a message separately and we can talk a little bit more. For Marley, myself, and Jalen, we've been looking at again everything, but we are not gonna, like Marley was saying, we don't touch anything that has to do with gambling or addictions, or we don't even want a liquor store, right? Like it's not what we want to put out into the world. I know. Why? Just liquor is great. No, liquor is great.
We have no problem
We
consuming
have,
it.
yeah, we that's not a problem. I mean, I don't anymore, but like we understand.
Yeah.
It's just we don't feel like feeding into that world, right?
No,
Like
no, I hear you.
you want me to open a distillery? All about it. Winery, like for the experience, that I was actually
Very
going to
cool.
open a winery before I got into what we're doing now. All about that, right? But it's about experiences and about I just see people
Yeah.
walking into a liquor store, walk back out, right? It's like, oh, I'm getting my booze for the night, right? Or for the,
Yeah.
that's how we look at it in a sense. But it's nothing wrong with it. You can absolutely do that, right? I mean,
Like,
we'll buy a convenience store that sells liquor. That's fine.
There we go.
Right. Like, what are your qualifications to owning a liquor store? I'm an alcoholic. Does that count? I mean,
No, because your profits are going to go down.
Yeah. You know your supply is good. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Cool. I love hearing what everyone's looking for. Something I wanted to, before everyone jumped off, I wanted to kind of tease and let you all know that we've got something coming out in the near future. This is something that we've been working on here, trying to bring value and things like that. But we're also, this can kind of only get us so far, or get people so far, is like, yeah, we can look at deals together, but we want to also push you and help you all kind of grow even further. So if you're interested, we're starting to look and interview and screen people to see if they're interested in coming in on a mentorship with us. So we're going to be doing two different things. We're going to be doing a 2-week intensive on the 25th of September. Did I get the date right, guys?
It's right.
Okay. 25th of September, we're going to do a 2-week intensive where it's free. It's a four days a week. So it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is going to be like 5 to 7 in that range. We're probably going to do 5:30 to 7 is most likely, but 5 to 7 on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then
EST.
we're going to do EST, thank you, Eastern. And then Saturday, we're going to be doing, I believe, 11 a.m. EST. We're going to be doing another chunk of time to go over. So the goal of that is to get you from how to find deals, how to look at deals, how to understand deals, and actually get you an LOI in place with a buyer or with a seller. That is the goal of doing that with you all. And that gets you to a certain point, right? So we want you to get to that point. We want you to have that next step, right? And we really, really, really hope that that helps people kind of move to the next step. And we would love, 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 love for you all to invite as many people. I know I say this weekly, but if you could put a post out, that would be super helpful for what we're doing here. Put a couple posts out in a couple different spots. I don't know what you can and can't put in your groups that you're in. Sometimes they will flag it and not allow you, but on your personal page, tag some people that you think might be interested. I always tag 100 people every time I put a post out just to get it out there, even if they don't care about it. At least they might know someone. If you know, I'd love to have you all invite 5 people next week and have 5 people show up. And it would just be absolutely astounding to see this just fill up and give everyone the value that we're hoping to give. So this is just the start. We want to do this for a 2-week intensive. We're going to give 2 hours a night minimum. And we want to really push you all forward and see how we can get things moving for you all. So I hope that's helpful for you all, and I hope that we get to see you back next week. And if you have any deals in between, please drop them into that link that we put on the side there, as well as please reach out if you have any questions on deals that you're working on. We'd happily take a look with you. We'll sign any NDA you need to have us look at it with you. Like whatever it is, everything you bring to us is going to be, if you fill it out on that form has, the verbiage, so that we are not going to go around you, so you can cover your butt so that you don't have to worry about the seller getting upset that we talked about it. That's why we redact everything. We bring it in here, we redact it, make sure no one can see what's what. All right. I talked for 11 minutes, so I'm going to stop talking now. And I hope everyone has a fantastic week. Again, reach out to us if you need us. If you don't hear from us right away through Facebook Messenger or something, sometimes it goes to spam. So please either reach out again, make sure you try to friend us. There's a couple, like if you try to friend someone first and then send them a message, it doesn't go to spam as easily as if you just try to friend someone or just send a message. Just to give you all a heads up, for some reason it does weird things. Try to do that. We may or may not see that you asked us to be friends, but at least the message will be more likely to get here. And if you don't hear from that, then that email that we're sending out, please reply to that, and we'll make sure we reply back as well. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.
Have a
Later.
good night.